Welcome to the next session. In this session, we are going to discuss about the communication with respect to the RPC, and also we'll be knowing how to utilize MapReduce step-by-step process. And at last, you will be just framing one tic-tac-toe game. This game can be developed in two ways, just as a .java, just as a backend, or else with the proper app version. Okay, so with the touch and feel with the Android versions. So that is up to us, right? So now let us move with the RPC first of all. So what is RPC first of all? RPC is nothing but remote procedural call. So the procedures will be available somewhere, and through our system, we will just call so and so procedure to execute and show the output in our system. So that is what is happening in the RPC. Now to execute this RPC with small hello world or is with the date service, we are going to implement one interface first of all. So what is that interface? The interface which we are going to utilize is a date service. So this is a code which we will be writing and we'll be saving this as an interface, right? So this is nothing but I have given one interface date service which is extending remote. So why we are utilizing remote? So remote is nothing but remotely we are going to access with a number of method invocations, right? So for all those purposes, this is to purely RMI based. So RMI is remote method invocation. So invoking the methods remotely. So for that purpose, we need a remote. Then the remote exceptions to handle all the exceptions related to this invocations which are available. And the next one is a unicast remote object. So this unicast remote object is very useful. It's a class to have all the objects, create the objects remotely, that too as a non-duplicacy. Means there will be no duplicacy of the objects. So if I have created one object somewhere, so same object we are not going to create anywhere else. Okay, not only in that system or else anywhere else. So for that purpose, we are going to utilize unicast remote object. So these are the few packages which which we need to import in the interface. And the next one is a date. See why date means, as I'm going to implement the date service using RPC. So I'm going with the utility package that is a date, and the class which I'm going to take is a date. So in this, what I'm doing, I'm going to get the current date. So if I'm getting any exception, just throw that exception by the remote exception, right? So for that purpose only, I have invoked this one, imported this one. So the interface which I have created is a date service. So that is the reason I have saved this file as a date service.java, and this is a interface. Now, when we have an interface, we should have a class to implement that. Yes or no? So interfaces will not have any data properly. The concurrent data will be there, right? So non-concurrent data will be there, right? So to make it available with our definitions and all, we should have a class to implement that and to give some definitions for that by some overriding concept or whatever. So we accordingly with the applications, we go on, right? Now, I'm going with the date service implementation class. See, this is a class which implements the date service, right? So all the same above packages I need to have here also. Now the class is a date service implements which extends unicast remote objects. So as we are just saying that this is a class which have the capability to create the objects uniquely, right? And everything must implement the above interface, that is a date service, right? Now here I'm going to call the superclass. So what is superclass is having there? We have given with a current date version, right? So that is what is there. So next, you just override that method, get current date, and you return the new date. Okay, so this is the overriding. Now, what is the date client RPC is holding? So see, here also we must go with the client server architecture. Yes or no? So client will be having the the client stub, and also the server will be having the server stub. So as we all know, stubs will be maintained to have the data in a proper way, to have the procedures properly. So for that, for the marshalling and marshalling concept. So we have a number of concept-oriented RPC. You just go through the theory based once again if you get any doubt. Okay. Now, so for this RPC combinations, as we are going with the RMI registries, so first we have to register the port numbers, whatever we are communicating, so that that port numbers will be having the objects. I mean, have the access of creating the objects over there. Now, you just go with the date client RPC. So in this, I am registry. See, I am going with the registry class where I am registering the this local host as a client 1099. So at the server also, I will utilize the same port number over there. Next, I am going with the date service class, and that date service class will be holding all the registries which are registering at that moment. Okay. Now, our main intention is to create, get the current date, right? So for that current date, I am calling the get current date and just I am printing that as an output, right? Okay. So this is a basic client program. Now coming to the server program, this is very simpler than the client. Here I have to go with the date service uh, interface. So the here date service interface with the implementation part. So can you see this with the implementation? So in the implementation part, we have called the super class also over there. And here I'm going with the same, see whatever the registration we are maintaining for. So that registration we have to create it and you have to local that with the local port number, right? So for that local registry dot create registry, first of all, what for what purpose to create the registry for the that local port which where server and client are communicating. So for that purpose, right? Now this um, registry will be in a communication with the date service class once again, right? And then we are printing the date service is running. Then whatever the class, whatever we are calling for the date purpose, right? So that date service I am calling, rebinding that here, so that my data will be printed with the current date. So that is what is the RPC main intention. So let us see the procedure. See, for this, first of all, we have to register the RMI. So don't forget this, the registry of RMI is mandatory. For that, see, we have to compile the both the codes, first step. Second step, in the command prompt, you start RMI registry. So this is very important. First of all, we have to start the RMI registry by the command RMI registry. Then you start executing the both the client and server programming. Done. So for this, date client RPC, date server RPC, right? Yeah. Here, I'm going with the Java C date client or server. Let us go with the server RPC dot Java. Done. Next, Java C date client RPC dot Java. Right. Now, at this moment, we have to register the RMI registry. You start with the RMI registry. So when we start with the RMI registry, we have to go on with the, once we have started, so we can't come back out of this. So for this, we are going to see at this moment, if I type RMI registry here, it will be saying us we have already registered with that. See, can you see this? We have already registered, address already in use. Okay, so means once in the terminal we have gone with RMI registry, right? So if you go with this once again, it will be showing us that we have registered already. Okay, so for this purpose, what we are going to do is we are going to close this once again. I want this one. For the path establishment, copy this and you come back. Yeah, Windows R. Once again, I'm giving this. Okay. Now, and cd space my path Java c space date server RPC dot Java. Right? So here I have started with the RMI registry also. Now I am going with the execution part. So when I go with the execution part, I have to start with the server first. Right. So date service is running, right? So at this moment, now date service is readily available by the server. Now if client requests for particular date, so immediately my server can able to give the date to us, right? Yeah. So the current date and time from the server. See, server is giving that. So how we are calling this particular method remotely means with the RMI registry. So once we have registered with the RMI, when we start with the RMI, so immediately all the the remotely available methods will be invoked. So which method we are invoking? By the rebind method, we are invoking the current date status. So the date service I'm calling, the class which I have given is the date service, right? So for that, with the help of that, I am calling this one, right? So by this, we have ended with this RPC communication. Thank you. If you have any doubts, please be free to contact anytime. Thank you.